Welcome, yogis. Thank you for joining me today for your Maya Flow. Today's Maya Flow, we're going to be sinking in some beautiful, deep postures for strength and support in the upper body and an opening and a release through the hips. We're going to be beginning today's posture laying upon your back to slowly sink in the postures that we're working and slowly allow the body to connect to or to yoke with the breath. Optional prop for today's flow is one block, and if you don't have a block, don't worry, you won't necessarily need it, but it's nice to have it there. So if you want to grab your block now, hit pause. If you've already got it ready to go, then join me laying upon your back, and what we're going to be doing is setting yourself up leg distance apart or a leg distance spacing from the top of the mat, and then take the feet nice and wide, at least shoulder width apart, and slowly invite the back body down to the mat. And looking to find about 1/2 meter's space between the hips and the feet to begin with. And initially, with the feet set up shoulder width apart, just allow the knees to fall in. Let's take an extension of the arms overhead and link the fingers, finding a bind here. And inhale, extending the entire side body with the inhale. And as you exhale, I want you to draw the arms overhead to the sky, unravel, and take the palms to open, backs of the hands to connect to the mat. And let's take that 2 more times. Inhale, finding that bind, opening and finding length through the side body. And as you exhale, we find flow and some rhythm, sinking in, movement and breath. 1 more time. Inhale. Exhale, release. Release the knees from the support that they have upon each other. We'll draw the heels in a little closer now. Next inhale, we're going to take a tuck of the pelvis, lifting the sit bones from the mat. And then exhale, release them back down, tilting the pelvis now as if pouring the pelvis open. Tilting the pelvis, pubic bone drawing towards the face. Exhale, releasing the pelvis, tilting pubic bone towards the mat. And taking that tuck a couple more times and just feeling that control and that stability that you have within the pelvis, as we'll be playing with that tilt in today's postures. Once more. And beautiful. Finding that neutral position of the pelvis. And then the next tuck that we take, we'll be drawing to take the pubic bone towards the face, and then from here, release the hips from the mat, release the low back from the mat, and draw all the way up to a bridge pose. And slowly unraveling the spine, 1 vertebra at a time, connecting to the mat. And then take that counter pose, tilting the pelvis open, finding space in the low back. Inhale, pelvis tilts. Exhale, we rise, lifting, finding bridge. Inhale here. As you exhale, slowly release the spine. Inhale, tilt to open. And let's sink in the upper body. And fingertips for the grip for that bind. Inhale, overhead, find the pelvis lifting and arms extending towards the back of the room. Exhale, we unravel. Inhale, tilt. We'll take that once more. And tuck of the pelvis. Ripple through the spine. Exhale, unravel, release. So beautiful. And draw the knees into chest. Rock and roll this time up and down the spine, feeling a gentle massage of the low back, of the hips, of the upper back. And then find yourself all the way up to a Sukhasana, a seat. Linking in those arms just the once here. Find your bind. Inhale, open the palms to the sky. Maybe feeling in this stretch, this release, as if you're waking up for the first time today. Exhale, release and send it to the back of the room, pouring the heart forwards, maybe resting the forehead to the mat. Inhale, let's draw to rise. Fingertips plant on the mat and we'll roll over the shins. Take the big toes together to touch behind you and find a walk down to your Balasana, your child's pose. And it's here within your Balasana as you melt the belly and invite the rib cage, the heart down towards the mat, that we find ourselves at our home base. Our child's poses, where we come back to at any time during the practice, that you want to come back to honor a state of restoration, and skipping any of the vinyasas today, as we will be creating a little bit of heat together and tapping into a little bit of that fieriness within us today. As you rest here in your child's pose for 3 more breaths, creating that seal with the top lip rested upon the bottom, and draw that inhale through the nose. Releasing the exhale out of the nose. And 2 more breaths, inhale. And slowly releasing and finding some length through that exhale. And taking your final breath here in your child's pose. And slowly walking back up. Your seat here, as you find an opening and a compression on the heels. I want to show you our 3 peak postures that we're working with today. Yes, 3 today. We're playing with variations of garland, which is our yogic squat. And we've all taken our yogic squat before. And our yogic squat is with the feet nice and wide as we sink into our seat and take our prayer. Today we're taking our Malasana or our garland pose and playing with some strength with the upper body, giving the lower body a little bit of a rest this week, as we also find a Bakasana, a crow pose, and 1 more variation in the upper body today, which is a Bhujapidasana. And a Bhujapidasana is such a fun one. You're sinking back into Malasana with the hands behind, and then finding a rise, lots of trust in this one, and the feet to link in front. A variation of garland as we hang in that pendant pose, picturing a necklace, adorning your body. You becoming that adorning. From our seat and that compression, let's find our way to stand, create a little bit of heat, and come back to that breath. Hands to the top of the mat, tuck the toes, and we'll take the hips to the sky, finding a short little down dog here. As you pedal out the heels, this pedal taking you for a walk slowly, 1 at a time, to the top of the mat. Walking it out and finding length through the calves, the backs of the hamstrings, eventually finding the feet. Nice and wide shoulder width apart just behind the wrists. And from here, take the hands to the shins and we'll find a halfway length, finding length through that spine. That pelvic tilt that we were playing with earlier, now tilting the pubic bone forwards and pouring your pelvis, your bucket, to open to the mat. As you exhale, we maintain that tilt and release the spine, hanging the head nice and heavy, maybe taking the hands to the backs of the calves. Let's unravel that spine as we slowly draw to rise. Roll of the shoulders as you find your Tadasana, your mountain pose. Palms to open, that beautiful little gentle sinking of the breath with the upper body we now find. Taking that bind with the hands. Inhale, open it to the sky. And as you exhale, draw the hands forwards, finding an opening through the back body here as well. Unravel the hands and take them behind you, finding a beautiful, humble float here. We'll take that 2 more times. Inhale, find your bind. Exhale, unravel. Once more, sweep the sky. Inhale, bind. Exhale. Hands to that humble. Take them to the shins, halfway lift. Exhale, fold it down. Hands to the mat, just the tips of the fingers here. As you draw to that halfway lift, deep bend in the knees, and we're going to step it back. Left foot leads. Sink down into that left hip and find a little rock and roll as you frame that right foot with the hands. Let's step it in and switch it over. Right foot steps back, sinking low in the pelvis. Take your rock and roll, finding a gentle little release as we invite some flow and some rhythm into the hips. Let's step it in, top of the mat, hands to shins, halfway lift. Exhale, fold it down. Unravel the spine and rise. Find your bind. Inhale. Exhale. Float and flow with the hands. Just the once this time. Hands to shins, halfway lift. Exhale, fold it down. Hands to the mat, halfway lift. Left leg steps back. Sinking the pelvis nice and low. And this time we're going to step it back with the right leg too. And find your plank pose. Hands to the mat. Drop the knees. 8-point plank as we slowly lower chest and heart to the mat. These elbows take a bend, tucking to the sides of your ribs. Once your heart and your chin meets the mat, we'll ripple through center and find our baby cobra. Gazing to the sky, drawing some warmth, some strength to the upper back. And tuck the toes. And we'll draw it back and find that home base Malasana. Forehead to the mat. Inhale, tabletop position. Tuck the toes. Right foot steps in. Sink the hips nice and low. Gentle rock and roll. So beautiful. Step it in, top of the mat. Halfway lift. Exhale, we fold. Ripple the spine to rise. And take a roll of the shoulders, Tadasana, palms to the front. Our bind, open to the sky. Exhale, unravel, practicing that pelvic tilt as we pour the body forwards from the pelvis. The pelvis leads here. Hands to the shins as we halfway lift. Exhale, hands to the calves, fold it down. Fingertips to the mat. Halfway lift once more. Right leg leads. Right leg steps all the way to the back of the mat. Sinking nice and low. Step it back with the left, planting those hands. Drop the knees. 8-point lower. Inhale, cobra. Release those toes. Gaze to the sky. Tuck the toes, pressing into the hands. Draw it back, Balasana. Inhale. And tabletop, release the knees, left foot steps in between the hands, we sink, right foot steps in, halfway lift, exhale, fold it down, unravel the spine. We'll take this beautiful little warm-up flow, yogis, one more time each side. Tadasana, your bind, inhale, open, rise. Exhale, sweep, tilt the pelvis. Hands to shins, halfway lift. Exhale, fold it down. Fingertips to mat, inhale, rise. Left leg for the lead. Giant step, sink the pelvis on the exhale. Step it back on the right, knees to drop. 8-point plank, exhale. Inhale, your ripple, release the toes and rise. Exhale, tuck the toes, Balasana. Inhale, tabletop. Release those knees. Right foot steps in. Sink it low into the hips. Your low lunge. Left foot steps in. Hands to shins, halfway lift. Exhale, we fold it down. Inhale, unravel. Roll the shoulders, Tadasana. Sweep to your bind. One final round, taking it to that right side now to close out. Exhale, your ripple and roll. Humble float, tilting that pelvis. Hands to the shins. Halfway lift. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Hands to the mat. Halfway. Right leg steps back, giant leap of faith. Sink the pelvis and plant the hands and step it back with the left. Your final 8-point plank as we drop the knees. Stay tucked in those toes. Invite the heart. Ripple through for your baby cobra. And then draw it back to your Balasana. Inhale, rise. And tabletop, release the knees. Left leg leads, stepping in between the hands. Sink the pelvis. Right leg steps in. We halfway lift and fold it down. So beautiful. Well done, yogis, nice and warm. And from here, as we draw to our halfway lift, we're going to take that cork block, take the feet nice and wide, and we'll drop it in between our heels and slowly sink down to find our seat. Now, if you don't have a block, you don't need to stay with that support. It's just nice as we are still warming up to be kind to the pelvis and give yourself that little bit of support. As we begin to tap into our peak postures and begin to adorn our flow, our bodies. Elbows inside the knees from your yogic squat, your Malasana or garland pose. Hands into prayer and open through the front of the chest, broadening across the front body. We'll stay here for one more round and feel into that contraction that we're working with here as the elbows press out, the knees press in. We're not fighting the contraction, just witnessing the strength of our shoulders, the strength of our hips, and allowing them to meet in the middle, pairing them in. Release the prayer and take a walk down through center. Rounding out through the back. We'll hang the head heavy here and find a release through the back of the neck. It might be nice to add that little bit of extra assistance using the hand to really enjoy that release through that, the muscles of the neck. We'll inhale and draw back up to that seat and find prayer once more. Coming back to that counter balance of strength. Hips drawing in, elbows drawing out, that compression. One more posture here as we release the right hand down, fingertips to tent, and we'll take a spinal twist as we take that left arm to draw out those long diagonal lines from right fingertips through to left. Inhale, find space. Exhale, draw it down. Left hand to meet the mat. Right hand release, diagonal stretch. Inhale. Exhale, draw it back. So beautiful. Final Malasana here in your support as you come back to that contraction, that counter strength, creating that little bit of fire within the shoulders, within the hips. Let's place the hands on the mat. Release that support from beneath the pelvis. As you draw to rise, we'll take the toes in just to try and track the feet. And that block, just place it at the top of the mat so you know it's there ready for that little bit of assistance if you choose to call upon it during your flow today. Hands are to the shins and we'll halfway lift. Exhale, fold it down. Now we're planting the hands, stepping it back with the left, sinking into the pelvis and walking inside that right leg. Hands still shoulder width apart. Let's drop the back knee, untuck the toes, and find your lizard lunge. That block is handy if you want to drop down for a little bit of support for the elbows. Otherwise, if the hips are already feeling nice and warm, then feel free to sink down to the mat as we now take a rock and roll across the body. So wherever you are, if you're up on the fingertips, maybe down into the palms, elbows on the block or elbows on the mat, feel into a little bit of flow now in our lateral perspectives of the body. Inner hip, outer hip. And as you take your little rock, you might even find that knee on the right folding out, falling out, allowing that foot to drop out onto the outer blade. So beautiful. Wherever you are, support out of the way, come back to the hands. We're going to tuck those back toes. Right foot steps all the way now to the back of the mat. Drop the knees. Now your 8-point plank, you can come back to that, or you can step it up now and find a full chaturanga as we slowly lower the body. Heaps of warmth now through the back body. So you can draw into your baby cobra, or maybe take a full cobra. Releasing the toes, space between the ears and the shoulders, maybe taking the gaze to the sky. Exhale, let's take it home and tuck the toes. Balasana. Inhale, tabletop your transition, tuck the toes, plank pose. That right foot steps back in, this time between the hands. Sink the hips, step it in. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold it down. Inhale, draw to rise. And fingertips to the mat. And as you take a bend in the knee, this time that right foot steps back. Taking the hands inside that left foot. You can heel toe it out a little further if you need a little more space. Drop into that back knee. Your lizard lunge once more this side. Rocking across the body and staying in the fingertips nice and high. And dropping into the hands. Feeling into your support of the cork block or coming all the way down to the elbows. Maybe allowing that left knee this time to roll out. Feeling into some flow in the hips today. Let's step it up. Release the back toe. Release the knee. Step it in. Draw the toes in, halfway lift. Exhale your fold. And this time we'll unravel the spine, draw to rise. Take a roll of the shoulders. We're back to where we've begun Tadasana. Palms open. And let's take a release overhead. Finding your bind. Inhale it to the sky. Exhale, send it out the back, your humble bow as we unravel, tilting the pelvis. Long lines for those hamstrings. Hands to the shins, halfway lift. Exhale, we fold. Fingertips to the mat, inhale, halfway lift. Left leg steps back. Sinking nice and low into the pelvis, hand inside that right. Lizard lunge once more. This time you can drop into that back knee or stay high. One full round of breath. Taking your options, your variations. Bring it back up to rise. Step it back on the right. Inhale here. 8-point plank or full chaturanga. Baby cobra or full. Exhale, release. And tuck the toes, draw it back, your Malasana. Inhale, tabletop. And tuck the toes. Left leg steps in. Sink the hips nice and low. Beautiful. Walking it inside as you take the foot out nice and wide. Stay nice and high. Or drop into that right knee, your call. Taking your variation, a pond cork block or hands, elbows, one round of breath. And let's bring it back. Hands to the mat. Big leap of faith. Stepping right foot all the way top of the mat. Hands to the shins. Realigning those outer blades. Halfway lift. Exhale, fold it down. Unravel the spine. Oh, feeling the hips blossom, the shoulders blossom. Tadasana. Let's find that bind. Inhale, open the heart. Exhale, release. Sweep it to the back. So beautiful. These hips are nice and warm now. Hammies nice and warm. We're going to take this time the hands to the shins for your halfway lift. And then as you slide them onto the back body and bow it down in your forward fold, hands find the mat, and this time toes turn out, and we'll sink down into our first unsupported Malasana, or feel free to grab that block and feel into that support beneath the hips if you prefer. We're here for one full round of breath, coming back to that contraction we found earlier. Hands in prayer, and stay for the exhale. Beautiful. Our first full unsupported Malasana. Hands to the mat, and our left foot will step back. Nice big lunge to the back of the mat. Sink the hips nice and low. So beautiful. And that left foot now is going to come across the body, resting that right knee. I think I said left foot just then. The right behind the right elbow. Our nice high pigeon that we were playing with last week. Maybe pressing into the fingertips as you inhale and sink the pelvis. Knee stays elevated. So beautiful. And plant the hands. Right foot now steps all the way back of the mat. Your plank pose. Inhale. 8 points or full chaturanga. Inhale, rise. Take it on back, Balasana. Inhale, tabletop, tuck the toes, your plank pose. So beautiful. Now you can keep stepping it in, yogis, or play with a bunny hop to the top of the mat now. Bending and taking a nice big drop back of the pelvis and a bend in the knees, and then stepping it to the top of the mat, feet nice and wide, one at a time, or your bunny hop. Hands to the shins, halfway lift. Exhale, fold it down. Inhale, unravel. Roll the shoulders, palms to the front, sweep the sky. Your bind, we open. Exhale. Take it to the back body. And you're humble, beautiful. Pausing here and you're humble. And this time we're finding that bind to the back body as well. And draw the shoulders open, chest open. And as we bow it down, we're finding that release through the knees. And our fold here in the bind. Beautiful. Releasing your bind. Hands to the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Toes out, maybe heels, toes, a little wider, sinking down into your Malasana, your second one. Full round of breath, inhale, hands into prayer, stay for the exhale. Inhale, making sure that spine's nice and long, crowns to the sky. And fingertips to the mat, right leg steps back this time. All the way to the back of the mat, sinking the hips down nice and low. And planting the hands, and then drawing the left knee behind the left wrist. Super high in this pigeon. Exhale, you're simply sinking to open the hips. No support of the knee today. And plant the hands, loading into the upper body, taking the strength in your upper body. Step it back with the left. 8 points or lower it down, chaturanga. Inhale, rise. Exhale, take it home, Balasana. From your Balasana, inhale, draw to rise, your tabletop, tuck the toes. Take your step, or maybe playing once more with that bunny hop as we draw back into the hips. Feet nice and wide, top of the mat. Hands to the shins, halfway lift. Exhale, fold it down. Unravel to rise. Roll of the shoulders. Tadasana, your bind. Open front of the shoulders. Sweep. Exhale, take it beyond that humble with that pelvic tilt. Hands to bind behind. Draw to open a little deeper through the shoulders as you open through the hamstrings. Release the bind. Hands to the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Heel toe it out. Sink down, Malasana. Hands into prayer. One full round of breath. Our crow pose. So we progress our Malasana now this round into our Bakasana. And pressing hands into the mat, we'll draw the hips just a little higher to rise. Come up into the toes, knees into the armpits, and lots of trust here as you rock the weight into the upper body. And you might for this round just take the left leg to rise, or the right leg to rise, or maybe playing with both and taking just a moment in that hover. Wherever you are playing with your Bakasana, we'll sink it back down into your Malasana. Hands to the mat, step it back on the left. Right knee, right wrist. Releasing through the hip. This time all the way down for that knee to meet, untuck the toes. And that rock and roll across the hip. Beautiful. And plant the hands, tuck the toes, the knee rises, step it back on the right, your chaturanga as we wash it off. Inhale, cobra. Balasana. Inhale, rupal tabletop. And tuck the toes, plank pose. Draw it back, your bunny hop or stepping top of the mat, feet shoulder width apart, hands to shins, halfway lift. Exhale, fold it down. Let's unravel the spine and take that to the right. Finding your sweep yogis. Inhale. Exhale. Your humble bow, find your grip, hang it overhead. Long lines through the hamstrings, release the bind. Hands to the mat, halfway lift. Heel toe it out, sink down into that yogic squat, your Malasana. Hands into prayer, inhale. Exhale, hands to the mat. Hips to rise, knees into the armpits as you take your crow pose, your Bakasana. One full round of breath in this play. Opening up and flexing the feet to sink back down from your Bakasana, taking it home to your Malasana. Hands to the mat, right foot steps back. And sinking low into the hips, plant the hands, left knee behind left wrist, all the way down now into your full pigeon, that little rock and roll to release through the back of that left hip. Doing so well. Malasana is looking good. Your Bakasana, we're exploring, we're playing. And can you have a little bit of faith, a little bit of trust? And as you explore the postures, release any judgment. And if you fall out or not quite ready to take full flight yet, can you still stay with the posture and draw a smile to the face? And plant the hands. It's getting playful today. Tuck the toes, take a rise, step it back, and take your chaturanga. Inhale, your cobra. Exhale, draw it back, Balasana. Inhale, ripple. Yogis, you know we have one more peak posture to take. Tuck the toes and find a rise. Draw it back, your bunny hop. Top of the mat. We halfway lift. Exhale, fold it down. And let's unravel to rise. And you know where you're going here, sinking the breath. Open it up. Inhale. And find your sweep. Hands to the back, body open through those shoulders, preparing them for all of that strength and support. Release the bind. Let's heel toe it out. Sink down, Malasana. Hands into prayer, inhale. Malasana takes us to Bakasana as you take the hands to the mat, find a rise onto the toes, knees into the armpits. Releasing one foot at a time. Your crow pose. And this time as you take the feet back to Malasana, we're going to find prayer. And then hands now feed behind the ankles. And we're just taking the space between the thumb and the index finger to wrap around the heels. Now you're going to feel into a little bit of support of the hamstrings upon the shoulders. Hands are nice and flat, and you might stay here today for your Bhujapidasana. Or you might take just one foot in front to rest on the outer blade of the foot, maybe the right one, and maybe this is where you stay today for your Bhujapidasana. Or maybe you find a little bit of a rise through the left, a little bit of rise through the right. You can tuck them, and you can take them into an extension. Lots of different variations here. Woo! And if you fall, have a little bit of a laugh. It is meant to be playful. This is a challenging posture we're playing with today. So if you fall out, come straight back in. I want you to hang here for one more breath. Feet to plant. Your Malasana. Oh, take a roll of the wrists. So good. Oh. Rolling it one way and then the other. Hands to plant. Let's take the hips to the sky. Oh. Heel toe them back in. We'll halfway lift here. Exhale, fold it down. Inhale, unravel the spine. And this time as we draw to the sky, we're going to take that left foot behind the right. So we've got a cross here at the ankle and the knee. Left foot's behind the right. We'll just run that right arm down the right hip and open through the left side. Beautiful big side body stretch. These hips have been stretched through the front of the hip, the back of the hip. We're tapping into the side now. Inhale, rise. Left foot steps out, so a shoulder width apart once more. Right foot steps behind the left this time. Left arm runs down the left side. Right arm overhead. And finding your crescent. Inhale, let's rise. Feet shoulder width apart. Taking the pace right down. We're going to play with that transition just once more today before you drop the heart rate and drop the nervous system. I really want you to take your time through this one. And hit pause if you like to have a little bit of an extra play. But as we slow down the pace, bring a smile to the face. Palms open, your Tadasana. And let's find your bind. Inhale. Open to the sky. And your exhale sweeps you in front, opening through the back body. And pour it forwards, tilt to the pelvis. Maybe taking a nice deep bend in the knee as you sink down. Hands into that bind, release it overhead. Knowing this is your final round, yogis. I want you to take it nice and slow, but give it all you've got. And toes out, I'll draw to the front this time. And toes out, and we'll sink down into that Malasana. One breath. And taking your variations, your options, maybe support and staying here. Otherwise, come with me. Malasana takes us to Bakasana. Taking one foot or both. Bakasana. Take the toes to the mat, hands behind to Bhujapidasana. Taking that grip and then walking one foot in and then the other. Maybe finding just a little bit of balance here. Maybe you take that cross of the feet or find an extension with the legs. Woo! And if you fall out, bring a smile to the face. Wherever you are, if you're still in Malasana, let's take a seat on the sit bones. If you're in your Bhujapidasana, take a fall like I did. If you're in your Bakasana still, draw it back. We're taking a beautiful release now. For the hips, in our Bakasana. Make sure heaps of space this time between the heels and the sit bones. And release the knees, inviting chest and heart forwards. And you can hang here or drop into the forearms connecting to the shins. Maybe you hang the head heavy here. Final breath. And slowly rolling up the spine, draw the knees in together. Give yourself a hug. And forehead hangs, maybe finding the knees. Yogis, these hips have worked hard today. Our shoulders have worked hard today. We're going to take it to the back body and find one final release for these hips as you slowly invite the back body to the mat. Rest the head. And that bridge that we begun with, feet nice and wide. Let's take a tuck of the pelvis once more. Lift the hips, the low back. Ripple the spine to rise in your bridge. Backs of the hands to the mat. Unravel the spine back to meet the mat. Knees into the chest. Give yourself a hug here, allowing gravity to assist in this as you tuck the pelvis and tilt it inward. Pubic bone once more to the face. Allow the soles of the feet to meet the mat. I'm going to drape the knees to the left-hand side, keeping those inner blades of the feet connected. And drawing elbows out in alignment with the shoulders. Take the gaze to the right. And you're welcome to drape the hands and find a full cactus if that's comfortable with the shoulders, or find the arms long. Whatever's comfortable for you here. And gentle release for the side body and that hip. And let's draw it back through center. And soles to feet, checking in with your alignment. And then we'll take it to the right. Inner blades of the feet still connected, draping the knees to hang to the right, and we'll gaze to the left. Softening and releasing any contraction through the legs, any effort to still consciously control those muscles. In this space, we just surrender. Lots of strength today. As you explored multiple variations there of garland, let's draw the soles of the feet back in and find length as you extend the heels. Releasing out of your cactus, the backs of the hands to the mat. And extending to find your savasana. And deep inhale here. And feel that expansion reach from the shoulders all the way through to the hips. The belly rising with the inhale. Open the mouth. Sighing out that strength. Inhale. Open the mouth. Sigh out. All of that support. And final breath. Inhale. Open the mouth. Exhale. We surrender. Yogis, if you have some extra time, please hit pause. Staying with your savasana as long as you have available to you. And otherwise, take a roll to your favorite side, drawing the knees into the chest. And let's press into the mat and draw to rise. And coming back to your Bakasana. And finding hands in prayer once more at heart center. And yogis, so much trust within your own abilities to hold yourself today. Those strong postures we explore in your Malasana seat, your Bakasana, your crow, as you explore in part or full flight, your Bhujapidasana, an advanced pose. And bring a smile to the face, knowing that you were able to settle into and explore some of that strength with some playfulness and hopefully a smile still upon the face. And with each of the postures that we explore and take upon the mat, it's not about holding that posture or being able to hold it for a certain period of time or it looking a certain way. It's the journey, and if it was simple and easy, everybody would do it. The joy, the bliss is in the process. So as you bow your head down today and draw the chin into chest, come back to that beautiful big smile. In respect and reverence to that beautiful big heart of yours and that teacher that resides within you, that knows that it's about the journey, that knows that it's about the path. Inhale, rise. And breathe. Yogis, thank you so much for sharing your strength with me today, your surrender with me today, and these strong postures with me today in flow. I'll see you back on the mat real soon. Namaste.